Hello, Waswere here, back with another video, and today we are looking at the 10 hardest boss pets to get for the insane final boss title. About a year ago, I made a video covering the 10 hardest items to get for Golden Reaper, and we're going to do a similar thing here, but focusing only on boss pets now that we have the 4 God Wars Dungeon 3 bosses released. Last time there was 4 criteria, and I'm going to keep them the same for this video. They were difficulty of the boss, difficulty of finding groups for that boss, the rarity of the boss pet, and how fun it is to do that content. If there's something that's really not fun, it's going to be a lot worse, even if it takes a lot less time. These will all be my subjective opinions, so feel free to disagree with me, and leave a comment down below with everything you disagree with. Even among my friends, there wasn't a consensus, so I really don't expect y'all to agree with everything I say either. For each boss pet, I'm going to give 4 numbers. The first is the average. This is basically hitting drop rate for the pet. Pet has a 1 in 1,000 drop rate with no threshold, its average is going to be 1,000. However, the average alone doesn't tell the whole story. The average is dragged up by people who go very dry, so the majority of people will experience a lower kill count to get it. And I'm going to represent that with the next number, the 50% mark. This is the median, or the point at which half the people would have expected to get the pet. Is going to be lower than the average, and for our example with a 1 in 1,000 drop, the 50% mark is 693. The third number that I'm going to show is the 99% mark. This is the point at which if 100 people went for this pet, one person would likely experience this kind of dryness. For example, that number is 4,603. This is just a really good representation of how the unlucky people can go, and it really comes into play for non-threshold boss pets. And the last number I'm going to give is the mid-quartile range. This is the range between the 25% point and the 75% point. Basically, it's the 50% in the middle that most people will experience if you don't get super lucky or go super dry somewhere. For our example, the mid-quartile range is 289 to 1386. So we can say about half of the people who go for this pet will be between 289 and 1386. Starting off at number 10, we have Lil Sus, the Croesus pet. This is one of the more recent pets to be introduced to the game with the Elder God Wars. It has a base drop rate of 1 in 1,000 with a threshold of 500, but what makes this pet special is that regardless of the number of loot rolls you get, every single kill you roll for the pet. So if you go for a mass or a regular kill, you get the same chances. If all you care about is the pet, then go ahead and camp some masses to get this pet quicker. The average kill count to get this pet is 656, with the median being slightly lower at 597. The super dry mark, the 99% mark, is at 1900 kills, while the majority of people will experience between 289 to 943 kills for the pet. And I kind of want to just highlight how thresholds come into play. You might have noticed that the bottom portion, the 289, is the same because there hasn't been a threshold yet. But the higher portion, which in our previous example was 1386, got dragged down to 943 by the threshold system. So the threshold system exists to stop the super dry people, but it doesn't really help people get the pet earlier. At number 9, we have Bombi. This is the pet for hard mode Virago. To be able to unlock this pet, you need to have mauled all 6 weeks in hard mode Virago. From there, it's a 1 in 50 drop from hard mode. Each kill has a total of 5 piles per kill, so if you happen to get all of them, then it's a 1 in 10 chance per kill. While the drop rate is very low, the team forming for hard mode Virago is extremely difficult. No one really wants to go to the boss because it's way less GP per hour and harder than normal mode. The main reason why people go to hard mode is for mauls, kill count for insane final boss, or to get Bombi or Vitalis chance. And this just ends up with infighting to get the rolls, to get the piles, to get the Bombi drop. However, leeching this pet is mostly accepted in the current environment due to how bad the team forming is. If leeching didn't exist, this pet would probably be all the way up at number 3. While leeching, you get all 5 piles every kill. The average drop rate is 50 piles, with the median being 35. The 99% mark is 228 piles. That would really suck. And the mid-quartile range is 15 to 69 piles. Nice. The next 3 pets are the 3 Elite Dungeons. Elite Dungeons 1, 2, and 3, though not in that order. They all have mechanics where the drop rate changes based on the size of your group. At the same time, the threshold also changes, but it takes your combined KC into consideration. In solo mode, the drop rate is 1 in 300 with a 60 threshold, so if I have 120 group kills, then I start soloing, I'm already at 2 thresholds. Going to 1 or even 2 thresholds with groups is a viable strategy for those going for the pet at Elite Dungeon 2 or 3, as duoing either of these dungeons is about as efficient as soloing for GP per hour. Elite Dungeon 1, on the other hand, there isn't a grouping community as the majority of the GP comes from the ancient scales at the end of the dungeon. And if you duo, you lose a large amount of GP per run. Number 8 is the Blackstone Dragon Pet, Bizdy from Elite Dungeon 2, while number 7 is the Ambi Pet from Elite Dungeon 3. I ranked them in this order due to its difficulty, with Elite Dungeon 3 being more difficult than Elite Dungeon 2, though the KC numbers are the exact same for average, median, and so on. 60 duos followed by soloing for the pet is the method we're going for. The average is 174 combined kill count, with the median being 95, the super dry mark being 385. I would not want to do that many Elite Dungeon runs. And the mid-quartile range is 95 to 205. With that KC including the 60 duos, so the average is really 114 solos. As mentioned earlier, Elite Dungeon 1 is basically never grouped due to the ancient scales that are lost, unless you are learning the content. This makes it longer to get the pet on a time basis, even though the numbers are slightly lower, as all of this kill count is solo. The average is 140, the median is 130, while the mid-quartile range is 87 to 195. And the 95 is just as painful as above, with 376 solos. I can't imagine doing 376 runs of Elite Dungeon 1. I could barely do 50 before giving up. Moving out of Elite Dungeons and into group bosses, we have Nex, Angel of Death. This might be one of the more common high-level PvM deaths just due to how many people camp this boss and how many kills can be gotten in an hour. Even then, finding teams is hard, and unless you have a group of friends that really want to camp this boss, it can take quite a while to build up your KC. But once you get into the community, you'll find that pretty much everyone has the pet. A good example would be the AOD Friends Discord I'm in. We have about 5,000 kills done, so approximately 35,000 loot rolls, and we've only seen 3 pet drops, one of which was mine, and that's just because everyone who goes with us already has the pet. The drop rate is 1 in 3,000, and it has a threshold of 600. The average is 1396, with the median again being slightly lower at 1293. The 99% dry point is 3,773 kills, while the mid-quartile range is 733 to 1941 kills. The pet is so common in comparison to the chest that by the time you hit the drop rate of an AOD chest, 5,000 kills, you have a 99.95% chance of having the pet gotten. Number 4 is the last of our no threshold pets, and it's the base pet from Araxi. The drop rate varies based on your performance in the kill. The more enrage you gain throughout the fight, the better the drop rate is. The drop rate changes between 1 in 500 to 1 in 1,000, and you can also gamble your loot for a secondary roll at the pet. For this, we're assuming a flat rate of 1 in 750 per kill based on gambling the bad loot and the average amount of enrage gained during kills. This pet is mostly here due to the fact that there is no threshold. The average drop rate isn't too bad, taking about 50 hours to hit drop rate, but with no threshold, it's possible to go thousands dry without it. A 1 in 750 rate gives an average of 750, makes sense, a median of 520, and a mid-quartile range of 216 to 1039. But the real scary number here is the 99% number, which is 3,452 kills. Just an ungodly amount of Araxor. Once you unlock the base pet and the 6 skins, you can then get Mallory or Barry as pets, but those have thresholds and a good drop rate, so the real limiting factor is the no threshold base pet. At number 3, we have the single hardest group boss to get into, and that's Solak. Not only does it have a very high gear requirements, but the skill floor expected is really high. In order to do the boss efficiently, you really need to pump out some good DPS. This makes it a very tough environment to get into, even for a seasoned PvMer like me. This has been exacerbated by the fractured staff of Armadale. With this weapon, teams now tank more mechanics and rely on the staff to heal them up for those mechanics, making it less viable to go on staff teams if you're not a staff user. The boss pet isn't too rare once you get into it with a 1 in 1200 drop rate and a 240 threshold, but getting to the point where you are getting consistent solo kills might take longer than most other boss pets to fully get the pet, not just learning the content. The average is 559 kills, with the median being 518. The mid-quartile range is 293 to 776, while the existence of a threshold makes the 99% drop point not too terrible at 1508. I guess Jaggers thought IFB was too easy nowadays, and they decided to release the hardest pet to get since the title came out, the Zuck pet. This pet is a grind. It's a 1 in 500 drop from normal mode, which gets increased to 1 in 300 for hard mode, and that's already pretty high for the time it takes to complete. For example, Shrimpy, which was gotten from Harakin in the kiln, was a 1 in 200 drop with a 40 threshold, and kilns are much quicker than a Zuck run. On top of that, the threshold of 100 is higher than expected, being 1/3 of the drop rate instead of 1/5, and that's because the threshold is tied to the normal mode drop rate. Efficiency wise, as you need 100 normal mode Zuck kills for the insane final boss title, it's best to do your first 100 normal mode and then go into hard mode. That way you've built up a threshold. If you do the 100 normal mode first, average wise you'll have to do 114 more hard mode KC. On the other hand, the median is a little bit lower at 74 extra hard mode kills, and the mid quartile range is between 14 hard mode KC to 152 extra hard mode KC. While the super dry 99% mark is a disgusting 383 hard mode Zuck KC. Again, if you go that dry and if you get 99% mark on any of these high level bosses, you'll be swimming with all the GP you can get. And last but certainly not least, we have the pet you've all been waiting for, Vitalis. This pet is so rare that it's basically half of the IFB title. It's a slow boss where at best you're getting 6 kills an hour, but the majority of people only do 5 kills per hour. Its threshold is high at 1 in 1000, meaning 200 hours before you even hit a threshold, let alone get the drop. This pet, alongside the Zuck pet, on an hours basis probably makes up more time than the other 50 or so pets combined. It's just that crazy. One of the interesting parts of the Vitalis drop is that it can reroll from one person to another if the first person already has Vitalis. So if I'm duoing with a Vitalis owner and I get at least one pile in a kill, then all the piles they get also give me Vitalis chance. The base rate is 1 in 5,000 per pile, and there are a total of 5 piles per kill. There are a lot of different scenarios we can use to get the average kill amounts, from bomb tanking trios to soloing to duoing as a base tank to buying hard mode X-logs to only going with people who own Vitalis and have the same threshold as you. But to keep things simple, we're going to be doing 2 drop piles a kill. This simulates bombing in a trio or basing in a duo. The average mark is 1,516 kills. The median is 1,367 kills, with that mid-quartile range being 722 to 2,157 kills. I was a little scared to look up the 99% mark, but it's 4,302. That is an incredibly large number. Remember, there's only at most 5 kills per hour when things go right, so almost 1,000 hours to get Vitalis. Alright, there you have it. There are the 10 hardest boss pets to get for the insane final boss title. Do you agree with the list? If you don't, leave a comment down below. If you enjoy the content I'm creating, consider subscribing. But past that, have a good day, and I'll catch you on the next one.